Tree Talking Time is brought to you by Conkeys Outdoors. Get all your hound hunting needs at conkeys.com. Welcome to Tree Talking Time, where we talk all things tree dogs, from the smallest fights to the largest hounds, treating squirrels to bears and everything in between. And from time to time, we might even run a little fast game. Welcome back to another episode of Tree Talking Time. It is Labor Day. It is down to the wire. This needs to be uploaded in an hour, but been busy. Just got home yesterday from Autumn Oaks, and that's where this episode was recorded. So had a great time. About the next month is going to be all episodes that were recorded at Autumn Oaks. I just want to say thank you for everyone that came out, saw me at the booth. Really enjoyed meeting all of you. I had a great time. I got to go out on a couple casts and just talking and meeting people, and really enjoyed it. Just want to say thank you to all my sponsors for everything they did helping me get out there and get set up. And so thank you to Conkeys, Bullcry, and W. And a big shout out to my dad. My dad doesn't listen to this podcast, but I just really want to say thank you to him because he's not a hunter. Going to something like this is not something he would ever do normally. And he came out, and the sole reason was to help me. So I really do appreciate his help. Without him, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So thanks, Dad. And now on to this episode with Ray Conrad.
Well, you prefaced that you want to talk about black dogs. And, being I was raised hunting grade black and tan dogs. There wasn't no such thing much as registered dogs in my part of the country. They bred coon dog to coon dog, and they came multicolored.
Yep.
And we just tended to like the black dogs better, and we hunted those. My dad had them, my granddad had them, up until into the mid-'70s, I guess. And then registered walker dogs started coming in around us quite a bit. And I actually left the black and tan breed for registered walker dogs, and I hunted really heavy Yadkin River bred walker dogs.
Because they're from down that way, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, from Jimmy Meeks and Kyle Chase and A.J. Wright, some of the older guys that brought the Yadkin River breed in. They were basically sailor-bred dogs, if you've ever heard people talk about sailor-bred dogs. That's what Yadkin River dogs were. But anyway, I found that the Yadkin River dogs were super well-balanced, and I really liked that. So I hunted those dogs for 15 years, 16 years, something like that.
Good little stint of time.
Yeah, and I'm not going to talk about the sire of the dogs that put me over the edge, but I had two dogs out of a well-known Walker stud dog, big-time Walker stud dog that a lot of people think a lot of. And that's why I'm really not going to go there.
Yeah,
but
I understand.
This particular dog was bred to a nailer female, and Nocturnal Nailer was a heavy Yadkin River bred dog. Okay. And anyway, at 8 months old, all the pups, there were like 8 pups, all of them were running treeing. You could catch coons with just about every pup. I got to have some of them. So I bought 2. I had a male and a female. The male dog, the more I hunted him, the tighter mouth he got. He quit opening on the ground. And then he would tree about every 100 yards, whether he needed to or not. I mean, it got to where, honest to God, I felt like I needed to carry a bottle of Pepto-Bismol with me, because when he would locate and load up on a tree, I would feel sick to my stomach because I hated him because of that. So he didn't live to be a very old age. And then the female I had, she was much more accurate, opened on the ground, but she was a very radical tree dog. She would run the tree and grab a limb and growl while she had a hold of the limb, eyes popped out and red. She was just very radical. And I had her there, and I kept thinking to myself, I said, there's no way for this female not to get mean. So anyway, what ended up happening, a well-known guy wanted to buy her from me. And I told him, I said, man, you don't want this dog. This dog's going to get mean. She's not shown it yet, but there's no way.
Yeah.
She's got to get mean. I want her. Well, he bought her, called me back about 6 months later, and she had just about gutted his old female and killed her. And so anyway, she didn't live to be very old either.
Yeah.
And after that experience that I had there, I said, you know what? I'm going to go back to what I know. So I went back to hunting black and tan dogs, and I guess the first one I had after that was, I guess it was direct out of Ace, Set 'em Up Ace, which is probably the most prolific black and tan, stud dog. Most everybody's heard of Set 'em Up Ace.
Yeah.
His dad was Super Sting, LaFoon Super Sting, another big dog, and there's actually semen out of him that some pups are coming out of nowadays. But Set 'em Up Ace was a well-known dog, and through a lot of good dogs, people particularly seemed to like the females better, and they reproduced well if they were crossed well on something. So I started hunting them, and I was hunting some of them, and once in a while I'd run across a decent walker dog I'd hunt, and I just kind of had a little bit of both. And then a good friend of mine, and I don't mind telling you his name. His name's Kenneth Tavares out of South Carolina. He and I got to be friends probably close to 30 years ago now, 25, 30 years ago. And he had a young male dog that was out of his Grand Night female, and a dog named Bad to the Bones Kane that was being bred a lot right around 2000 to 2005 area. And anyway, so I ended up buying the young dog from him, and I hunted him 30 days, and I think he was about 18 months old, and I made him grand before he was, just slightly over 2 years old. I had made him grand. He was a super nice dog. And then I bought one of his litter mates from Kenneth, and I had an old Grand Night female that Kenneth wanted, so we worked a little deal, and I paid a little boot, and I got the litter mate and ran him through the dual grand.
Nice.
And then, so I had the two of them for a long time and really liked those. And then Kenneth, later on, we just got to be such good friends. He called me one time, and he had a dog named Super Stud that was out of the same mom but a different dad, out of a male dog, Grand Night male dog named Black Patch that was out of Kane. And Kenneth said, Ray, I got aggravated with this dog. Come take this dog, keep him. He's yours. So I took him and made him grand.
Wow.
And then when he got a little bit older, I let Kenneth have him back, and Kenneth raised some pups and stuff out of him. And Kenneth and I have grown to be great friends over the years. We just, matter of fact, just last year, I let Kenneth have a Grand Night female that's as good as anybody's got that he's been hunting down there now. And an older dog.
Yeah.
Probably try to raise some pups. But, yeah, that's kind of my story about getting in and out of black and tan, how I went with it. And then kind of a caveat of that is when and I'm going to guess, and I'm having to guess, but I'm going to say around 07, 06, 07, somewhere in there, maybe 08, I was invited to run to be a board member on the Black and Tan Association.
Yep.
And which was I considered to be a huge honor.
Yeah.
To be able. The Black and Tan Association is a little different in that it's very professionally done.
So I'm not a black and tan man, but I come to Black and Tan Days this year, and I will tell you, Black and Tan Association is top freaking notch.
Yeah, we tend to run things, extremely professional to try to make it as clear cut as it can be. We have clear cut rules, regulations, a constitution, policies and procedures. Like for president, you can only be president 2 years. You can only be vice president 2 years at a time before you have to go out. Board members, we elect 3 a year, which normally means that we have a third of the board turning over each year. Generally, we have had, times when this didn't happen, but most of the time you'll find that the guys that end up being in the major offices on the executive board they are, you might well say groomed is what happens to you. You come in as a board member, you work your way up.
Yeah.
But anyway, I got asked to be a board member, and I'll never forget this kind of a funny story. Philip Herron, and everybody that's a black and tan man knows who Philip Herron is. He walks around with a pair of overalls on, and he's kind of hunchback just a little bit, and wears a little black hat, and big cigar. He's kind of graduated from the cigar, though. He was chewing a piece of wood last time I saw him. But Philip came to my booth, and I knew Philip, but we weren't super close friends, and now I consider him one of my very best friends. But Philip sat down and asked me, he said, Ray, he said, I really want to support you for running for the board, but I got a question I want to ask you. I said, well, go ahead. I'll be glad to answer whatever. He said, well, what I don't want to happen is you to use the Black and Tan Association to better your business.
Yeah.
And I said, well, Philip, I never really thought about that. I said, but the truth of my idea is I would like to use my business to better the Black and Tan Association. Yeah. Let's turn that around if we can. And I feel like over the years that's what I've done.
I'd say so.
Yeah, it's worked out well for me. But Philip did that and got me in. I got on the board, and I spent a couple years on the board and did the yearbook a couple times. Me and another guy, Lovis Burns, a good friend of mine, he was mainly the yearbook guy, and I was just helping a little. And then I got in as vice president, and then as president. And, there's no greater feeling in the world than when you show up in an event and you got close friends.
Oh, yeah.
All over. All over. And I got close friends in all breeds, but, the Black and Tan breed is near and dear.
Oh, I bet.
To my heart. And, you had asked a little bit about, what Black and Tans are, where they came from. And I'm just going to punch a little something out there that's kind of been talking about. Me and another guy named Chad Smith, who is a good friend of mine, we've been pushing an idea for a while of doing a podcast on some of these Black and Tan, our stalwarts, you might call. They've been around for a long time, and we want to immortalize their thoughts and things before they get so old that they can or they're not here and all that. But, we just got so many out there. I can name a bunch of them, and I'd probably forget somebody, but, Carl Meinhardt comes to mind. Tam Young comes to mind. It's just all kind of people that we need to interview and get them, put away forever.
No, I completely agree. That's actually kind of what pushed me into this. I had some friends that, just some old timers, and I was like, man, you tell some great stories, all this history. I'm like, that needs to be recorded.
Oh, absolutely.
So that was kind of one of the things that pushed me into this. Because it's like they're, in their defense, it's just they're local legends, but they're not big name players of anything. And so that's what I was like, well, most other people aren't going to know who you are. So,
well, the podcast thing, although, it's been going on for a long time nationally, but in the coonhound world, it's still relatively in its infancy, I think. Just in the last maybe 5 years.
Yep,
you've started seeing podcasts pop up. And,
there's going to be a bunch of them here today.
Yeah, and there's some good ones. I've been interviewed on 2 or 3 of them, and I find it to be a very intriguing thing to be on these things, because it does. It takes what you think and puts it out there forever.
Exactly.
And that's really cool. That's really, really cool. But, the Black and Tan thing, a couple other things that I'll make mention that I feel like sets the Black and Tan Association apart from most. All of them are great. Don't get me wrong. I think the world of a lot of the people in a lot of the associations. But again, I'm partial to the Black and Tan Association. But, if you come to Black and Tan Days, and I know you came this year for your first time to Black and Tan Days, it really and truly is a family atmosphere.
It really is.
At Black and Tan Days. There's, you don't see a lot of animosity much between people. You see mainly people that are genuinely glad to see each other. Usually, if you walk around very much. Somebody's gonna feed you or do something nice for you. I mean, it's just a good group of guys.
It really is.
Yeah,
like I said, Trevor told me, he goes, man, you'll see more black dogs than you've ever seen in your entire life, and he wasn't kidding.
Oh yeah,
and
loaded with them.
He told me, he's like, it's a big turnout, it's a big family atmosphere. He goes, this is a really good association. Trevor's kind of partial too.
Oh yeah, he likes black dogs
he's a black
too.
Dog
yeah,
man.
He likes black dogs too. So I knew I liked him for some reason, but it's.
Conkey's Outdoors is proud to be a sponsor of Tree Talking Time. Family, hunting, tradition is the Conkey's motto. They understand the importance of passing down the tradition of hound hunting. They are a family-owned business that treats you like family. They also understand the importance of having the gear you need when you need it. Conkey's carries everything for your next hunt, and it ships to your door quick. They also offer great warranties on all tracking systems and financing options. Check them out at conkeys.com. You can also use the code TreeTalkingTime5 in all caps to save as well.
It's just so, like me. Well, for instance, when I pick up hunt results, if I see a black and tan dog that placed well or did well, I mean, there's a lot of times I just pick up the phone and call somebody and congratulate them, Glad to see you did well, and because, man alive, it's just so, well, for instance, this year, I got the biggest honor that I think I've ever received, that I know I've ever received, was being inducted into the Black and Tan Lifetime Member.
Okay.
Which is basically the Black and Tan Hall of Fame, you might say, but we call it a lifetime member. And, when your friends recognize you and appreciate what you've done for them, and ours is a little different because it doesn't matter if you've had the biggest stud dog ever in the history of it. It's all supposed to be based on what you have done to help the Black and Tan Association and the breed move forward. Not necessarily whether your stud dog put more puppies on the ground or you won more hunts than anybody or whatever. It's all based on just how you did, with the association.
Yep.
And it's what an honor. What an honor. I almost couldn't believe it when they said my name, and I tried to get up there and say a little speech, and I think I did okay. But it was quite interesting to say the least. Quite interesting. And next year, you coming to Black and Tan Days next year?
I don't know.
Well, Black and Tan Days next year will be back in Flora, Illinois, which Flora is kind of the unheralded home of Black and Tan Days.
There was quite a few people that were not too happy that it was in Ohio this year.
Well, and I didn't have a problem with Ohio. I don't have a problem with it being anywhere. I'm going to Black and Tan Days. I don't care where it's at. I'm going. And, I thought Ohio was good. I thought the grounds were good. I thought the hunting was good.
A lot of people, it wasn't, quote unquote, at home.
Well, that's right. And we've been in Florida for, golly bum, I'm going to say out of the last 20 years, we've probably been there 16 of them or 15 or 16 of them. And I like Florida. Florida's a great place to have events. I mean, they host all kind of things all year. And but, it's been all kind of places. We went to Wasion, Ohio a few years ago. It's been to Cuba. It's been to, it's been to several other places around. And generally, what we've seen is when we move, we fall off a little bit.
Yeah.
And, I've been around these events all my life, and you'll find that when you move any event, you fall off a little bit.
Well, heck, if you fall off, then I can't wait to see what Florida does, because like I said, I've never really paid attention. And I went this year. Every night you had about 100 dogs.
We had more than that. We had...
including youth, I think you're right. There was over 100 every night.
Every night. And one night it was like 40, 50 or something.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there hasn't been that long ago when we would hunt 250.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it hasn't really been that long ago. And I think that you will see a bigger hunt, a little bit bigger hunt in Florida than what we had in Ohio. But Ohio was a success.
Yeah.
We did really well there. The association did well there. We're trying to have, more of a membership push. I personally have tried to make sure that I push memberships a little more. And again, that's something that Chad and I are really going to push with this podcast, is to support the Black and Tan Association.
Definitely.
And so that's been good things for us. But yeah, it's hard to put. We routinely there would put over 500 dogs in the woods in 3 nights, and we hadn't quite done that the last few years. We've been not too far from that, but not quite done that. So I'm anxious to see. And the one thing about Florida that I saw several years ago, I mentioned Philip before, but I tell you what Philip did. He took a map of the United States. This has been several years back. And he went through the membership roll, and every single person on the membership roll, he put a dot on that map to differentiate where they were. And if you look at that map, and he probably still has it somewhere, the southern Illinois, northern Kentucky area, southern Indiana area, all those areas are the center of our membership, almost exactly.
Which would make sense why Florida does so well then.
Absolutely. That I think that is the key to why generally when you go there, it's almost always super successful.
Yep.
I recall I was talking to Alan here yesterday here at Automogs, and Alan said he had 39 vendors here this year. And I can recall one Black and Tan Days particular that we had 27 at Black and Tan Days.
That's a lot of vendors.
I mean, that's significant.
Days.
Yeah, that's significant. 27, and to be very honest with you, we had too many. And the very next year, we actually cut it down to 18.
Okay.
Said that, we couldn't support that many vendors.
Yeah.
So we cut it to 18, which it worked out very, very well for us.
Good.
Yeah.
We've made it this far in, and I've still hadn't even have you introduce yourself. If people haven't figured out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I'm sorry, Ben. No. But I'm Ray Conrad.
Yep.
I own Bright Eyes. And
I've been trying to get you on for a while.
Been hunting all my life. Hunted. Again, I'm a 3-generation hunter. Grew up hunting. That's all I know. Other kids were out rambling and getting into stuff, and me and my dad, we were in the woods all the time.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, that's me.
Well, I need a good story from your youth then. If you've been at this that long, I'm sure you got a good story from when you were a kid.
I got all kind of good stories.
We need one or two.
I know one particular time we had this dog, and he would just leave the country. He was one of these dogs that would just leave the country.
Like chasing a deer leaving the country?
No,
or
he would just leave the country hunting. He would just go. Well, and we had big plots of land back then. We don't have that anymore. But anyway, this dog, me and this guy named J.O. Farmer, and my dad were hunting. And my dad had gotten a little older. He didn't go to the trees all the time. And it was about 15 or 16 degrees.
Ooh. We
were out hunting, and this dog, his name was Rock, he treed across Fishing Creek. And Fishing Creek, it's different parts of the country, but if Fishing Creek was here, they'd call it a river.
Okay.
But Fishing Creek really was probably, I don't know, maybe 80 to 100 foot wide, and in its bad places, it might be over your head, but there was no places you could wade it in boots. I mean, it was deeper.
You were getting wet.
Yeah. And anyway, he was treed across there, and we done walked about 1.5 miles in the woods to him. He's crossed there, and we looked for a log to try to, coon cross there some kind of way, and we couldn't get any way to get over there. So me and J.O. just decided we was going to get naked. and wade the creek over there and get the dog. So we did. We waded the creek over there and get the dog, and we come back, and fool J.O. messed around and knocked his britches into the creek, and the creek, the britches go floating down the creek. So all he's got is his skivvies to put back on. And it's 15 or 16 degrees.
Yeah.
And we walked out of there with him and his skivvies, and us all the way out. I'm telling you.
Talk about some shrinkage.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, it was cold. And J.O. was a man. I watched J.O. Farmer one time grab a swing set. He had big old arms, big barrel-chested man. I watched him grab a swing set with his right arm one time and do 16 one-handed pull-ups.
There you go.
What a man. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was strong as a bull. Didn't curse, didn't drink, but, man alive, you didn't want to get in no ruckus with him. He was tough.
No,
he was
not
tough.
At all.
But, yeah, that's one good story. And my dad had a friend who happened to be J.O. Now, this is some funny stuff here. Happened to be J.O.'s older brother, and his name was Bill. I think there was 9 kids in the Farmer family. And Bill was the oldest, and he and his wife lived down on Tinker's Creek, and they had a house down there that still had a dirt floor in it. You know, they didn't have no running water. Mm-hmm. They bathed in the creek. I mean, and this is in the 70s.
Wow.
You know, this is in the 70s. Well, we pulled up down there one time, and we sitting in the car. I guess I was probably about 12 or 14. We're sitting in the car in the truck, and Lillian was his wife's name. She comes running out of the house, and we can hear a .22 go off in the house. Kablow! She comes running out. She tells my dad, she said, "Ray, you got to help me. You got to help me." She said, "Bill's drunk in the bed, and every time I go by the bedroom door, he shoots at me." So Dad had to go in there and take the rifle away from Bill, drunk in the bed. I mean, it's just crazy some of the stuff went on down there. We pulled up one time, and this guy, they had a daughter. Her name was Donna. She was I thought she was a very pretty girl, mm-hmm. you know, and seemed to be a very nice person. But she had this boyfriend, and she was young. She was a young teenage girl. But she had a boyfriend, and my dad named him Clawhammer. And the reason he named him Clawhammer, because his nostrils of his nose was so big. My dad said you could stick 50-cent pieces up each nostril, you know. said he could pull nails with his nose. Dad named him Clawhammer. But Bill and them had these big trees, big cedar trees around the old house place there. And you know when you was a kid how you would climb trees and you grab the top of a little skinny tree and ride it down to the ground or whatever? Well, Clawhammer had climbed one of these big cedars that was probably 50 years old, you know, and he climbed way up to the top where it was down about a little bigger than your thumb at the top. And he had it in his mind that he was going to jump out of that cedar tree and ride that cedar to the ground. And this was a tall cedar tree, probably, 35 feet, 40 feet. He jumped out of that thing, and that twig snapped off in his hand just about 6 inches below where he had a hold of it. He fell. We had to call the ambulance to come and get him. I mean, it just some stuff. It unreal, the stuff that happened back in the day.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, it's pretty early in Autumn Oaks, and I don't want to hold you up, but I
appreciate it. I enjoyed coming, and I know we've been trying to get together for nearly a year, and I was glad to get together with you and get this done and over with. We're going to go over here and see if we can't pedal a few of these old lights along here. And we've sold out up here the last few years. Mm-hmm. So I imagine that's what'll happen again, I expect. So it's a good thing, and a lot of good people in the hunting world. I mean, just really and truly, it's just one big family as a whole. If you get right down to it.
Yep.
You know, there's a lot of people that come up and talk to me, you know, and some of them I remember their names. A lot of them I don't remember their names.
Oh, I know. I'm sure it's hard.
But they come see me every year, and I just think the world of them. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a lot of good people. I really appreciate you taking the time to have me on.
Yep, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me.
Yes, sir. You have a good one.
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Tree Talking Media. And until next time, keep them talking in the timber.